The mysterious invitation. The galaxy had always been a vast, mysterious place, full of wonders and dangers. For millennia, the peaceful species of the galaxy had managed to avoid conflict, choosing instead to observe and learn. These species, known for their wisdom and nonviolent ways, had a clear rule: never get involved in the wars of others. They believed in the power of peace and tranquility, but their neutrality would soon be tested in a way no one could have predicted. On a quiet day, far away from Earth, the first of many strange signals arrived. It was not a message of war, nor of conquest. Instead, it was a simple transmission, a beacon of light, silent but powerful. And from the moment it reached the farthest corners of the galaxy, everything began to change. The transmission came from a species known as the Sirian. They were a race unlike any other, known for their telepathic abilities and a deep connection to the natural world. The Sirian had long been a mystery to the rest of the galaxy. They had never involved themselves in galactic politics, never sought alliances, and never fought wars. Their planet was a peaceful paradise where nature thrived, untouched by the violence of the outside world. The message they sent was startling in its simplicity. It wasn't an announcement of a new discovery or a plea for help. Instead, the message said, "We have chosen. We choose humanity." No one knew why the Sirian, of all species, would choose to align themselves with humanity, a young species barely entering the galactic stage. Earth was known for its chaotic history, filled with conflict and war. Yet here was a species that had avoided conflict for so long, now making a bold choice. The galaxy was stunned. Why humanity? What had they seen in humans that made them take this unprecedented step? The silence that followed was deafening. Galactic leaders, generals, and diplomats scrambled to make sense of the Sirian's decision. Humanity had only just begun to venture beyond their own solar system, and their reputation in the galaxy was still being formed. They were an unpredictable species, capable of great creativity, but also of great destruction. What could the Sirian possibly see in them? Some believed the Sirian were simply confused or mistaken. Humanity wasn't known for peacefulness. In fact, their history was filled with war, internal strife, and violence. The galaxy's most peaceful species aligning with a race that had been at the heart of countless conflicts seemed almost illogical. Others wondered if the Sirian had seen something in humanity that no one else had noticed. Was there a potential for peace in humans that the rest of the galaxy had missed? As the days passed, the message from the Sirian continued to echo in the minds of the galaxy's leaders. Was this truly a sign of a new alliance, or was it a mistake, one that would lead to unexpected consequences? The humans, on their part, were equally confused. They had received the transmission, and many of Earth's leaders were as baffled as the rest of the galaxy. What did the Sirian see in them? Why would they choose humanity, a species still recovering from its own tumultuous history? Was it an act of hope or a terrible mistake? In the quiet of their government chambers, Earth's leaders discussed the message. No one knew how to respond. They didn't understand the Sirian or their peaceful ways. To the humans, peace was a foreign concept, one they were still struggling to understand. And now, here was a species offering their support in ways that were both puzzling and terrifying. Some believed the Sirian were trying to teach humanity a lesson. Perhaps they saw something in human culture that could be nurtured into something better. Others feared the worst. Was the Sirian's choice part of a larger plan, one that would drag humanity into galactic politics and conflict? Was this an offer of peace or a trap to manipulate Earth's future? It wasn't long before Earth's most brilliant minds began to work on decoding the deeper meaning of the message. Scientists, diplomats, and even military strategists worked tirelessly to uncover the truth. They analyzed the transmission, hoping for some kind of clue that would explain the Sirian's reasoning. But no answers came easily. Meanwhile, the rest of the galaxy watched in anticipation. The news spread like wildfire across the stars. Empires, both large and small, observed humanity's response carefully. Many feared the consequences of an alliance between a peaceful species and a young, unpredictable one. If the Sirian truly had chosen humanity, would this spark a new conflict? Would the galaxy's balance of power shift forever? It was then that a delegation from the Sirian arrived. Their leader, a calm and wise representative named Valen, landed on Earth with a group of advisors. The news was everywhere, but what they would reveal was still unknown. Why had they chosen humanity? What could this alliance mean for the future of the galaxy? The world held its breath as Valen prepared to speak. The leader of the Sirian had come to Earth not just with answers, but with a deeper, unspoken understanding of humanity's place in the cosmos. As Valen stood before the gathered officials, the tension was palpable. No one knew what would come next, but everyone knew this was only the beginning. What could the Sirian possibly want with humanity? Why had they made this choice? And what consequences would it bring? The answers, it seemed, were more complicated and far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The first encounter. The arrival of Valen, the leader of the Sirian delegation, was met with an air of uneasy anticipation. Governments around the world had prepared for this moment, but no one truly knew what to expect. The galaxy had watched as the Sirian chose humanity, a young and unpredictable species, but the true reason behind this decision remained a mystery. Earth's leaders were bracing themselves for the unknown. Valen's ship touched down in the heart of a massive, sprawling city that had been chosen as the meeting place. The city's towering spires and gleaming skyscrapers seemed to shine even brighter under the glare of the setting sun. But despite the beauty of the setting, there was a tension in the air, thick and heavy. News outlets broadcasted the event live, while millions of citizens around the world sat glued to their screens, eager for answers. As the ship's doors slowly opened, Valen emerged, flanked by a group of Sirian advisors. Their presence was calming, yet their alien appearance was unlike anything humans had seen before. Their skin shimmered with a subtle glow, and their eyes, large and luminous, seemed to pierce through to the very soul. They exuded an aura of tranquility, and yet the weight of their decision hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. The first words that Valen spoke were not of war or alliance, but of something far deeper, something more personal. "We did not come to conquer," Valen said, their voice smooth and melodic, "but to learn and to share. We choose humanity not because of its strength in battle, but because of its strength in spirit." The silence that followed was deafening. No one knew how to respond to this strange and unexpected statement. The Sirian, known for their peace and wisdom, were speaking of the human spirit as though it held some untapped potential that no one had yet understood. But what did it mean? Why did the Sirian believe humanity's spirit was worth aligning with? Was there something in the human heart that the galaxy's most peaceful species saw that others had missed? For hours, Valen and their team spoke with Earth's leaders, trying to explain the reasoning behind their decision. It wasn't an easy conversation. The humans, who were still recovering from centuries of war and conflict, found it difficult to understand why a race so steeped in peace would place their trust in humanity. The Sirians spoke of empathy, of compassion, and of a mysterious energy they had detected in humanity, a force that transcended the physical realm. Humanity's potential, Valen explained, lies not in its weapons, nor in its ability to conquer, but in its capacity to rise after every fall, to learn from its mistakes, and to build something better. It is this ability, this resilience, that makes you unique. This message resonated with many, but it also stirred up doubts. Were the Sirian truly seeing something no one else could? Or had they miscalculated? The idea of peace and unity felt foreign to many humans, who had long relied on their ingenuity and strength to survive in a galaxy that was anything but kind. As the meetings continued, tensions began to rise. Some members of the human delegation, particularly those with military backgrounds, questioned the Sirians' judgment. Why choose humanity, a species that had only just begun to explore the stars? What was it about Earth's past, filled with bloodshed and violence, that made them worthy of such an alliance. Meanwhile, the rest of the galaxy was watching. News of the Sirians' choice to ally with humanity spread like wildfire across the stars. The great galactic powers, many of whom had long histories of conflict, could not ignore the implications of this decision. Some were curious, others fearful. Could humanity's violent past be a threat to the delicate peace the galaxy had worked so hard to maintain? The first signs of a larger galactic reaction came from the mysterious Vyre, an ancient and highly advanced species that had long remained neutral. They had watched humanity's rise with a mixture of awe and suspicion. The Vyre were silent on the matter of the Sirians' alliance with humanity, but their silence spoke volumes. The galaxy's political structure, carefully balanced for centuries, was beginning to feel the strain. Back on Earth, the people remained divided. Some saw the alliance as an opportunity to prove humanity's worth on the galactic stage, while others feared that the Sirians' choice would drag them into a conflict they were not ready for. Could they truly live up to the expectations that came with such a powerful and peaceful ally? Then, in a private meeting with the world's leaders, Valen dropped a bombshell. They revealed that their choice wasn't just about humanity's potential for peace. It was about something far greater. "There is an ancient power hidden within your species," Valen said, their voice growing softer yet more intense. "A power you have yet to fully understand, but one that will shape the future of the galaxy." The room fell silent. Earth's leaders exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what Valen meant. What power? How could humans, who had only just begun to explore space, possess such a force? And what would it mean for the galaxy if this hidden potential were to be unleashed? As Valen's words hung in the air, the mystery deepened. The alliance was no longer just about peace. It was about something far more powerful and dangerous. The galaxy's most peaceful species had chosen humanity for a reason. But what was that reason? And what would humanity's role be in the coming days? The answers, as always, were more complex than anyone could imagine. The hidden power within humanity. The days following the announcement of the Sirians' alliance with humanity were filled with uncertainty and speculation. The revelation of a hidden power inside humans left everyone on edge. What did Valen mean? What kind of power could humanity possess that was so significant to the galaxy's most peaceful species? These questions haunted Earth's leaders, as well as the people of the planet. They knew that their place in the galaxy had just shifted, but whether it was for better or worse, no one could say. In the heart of a high-security facility, a special council was convened to discuss the mysterious potential of humanity. It consisted of Earth's top scientists, military commanders, political figures, and, of course, the Sirian delegation. The goal was simple: to figure out what Valen had meant when they spoke of this untapped power. The Sirian were not just observing. They were actively searching for clues. Valen had shared very little about this power, other than that it was ancient and linked to the core of human existence. The Sirian had their own advanced methods of investigation, but they had not been able to uncover anything concrete. They needed the humans' help to understand it. For weeks, teams of scientists from around the world were brought together to investigate the source of this power. Geneticists, biologists, and physicists were all puzzled. There was no trace of anything unusual in human biology or the environment of Earth that would explain what Valen had referred to. It wasn't an energy source that could be detected with the tools available, nor was it something that could be pinpointed by any known scientific means. It was something intangible. However, in the midst of all the uncertainty, something strange began to occur. It started with small, almost unnoticed events, flashes of unusual energy patterns in certain areas of Earth's atmosphere, brief spikes of unexplained electromagnetic interference, and strange occurrences during space travel. Scientists, still focused on the conventional, were baffled. But some of the more unconventional thinkers were beginning to draw connections between these phenomena. Was it possible that humanity had developed an extraordinary ability to influence energy fields without even realizing it? The Sirian, having seen countless species rise and fall throughout the galaxy, understood that humanity had a unique, unpredictable nature. They were a species driven by passion, emotion, and willpower, traits that other civilizations had long discarded in favor of logic and order. Yet it was this very unpredictability that gave humanity its potential. They had the ability to adapt and innovate in ways no other species could. Valen saw this and believed it was not just humanity's technology that had earned them the Sirians' favor. It was their heart, their drive, their determination to overcome every obstacle. In every human, Valen could sense an innate ability to challenge the established order, to look beyond the stars, and to create something new. But still, the power remained elusive. Then, during a meeting between the Sirian and Earth's top leaders, a breakthrough occurred. One of the human scientists, Dr. Aidan Thomas, proposed an experiment. He suggested that the key to understanding this hidden power lay not in searching for it with instruments, but in connecting with humanity's deeper instincts. Dr. Thomas proposed that they try to tap into the human subconscious, where emotions and instincts control the unseen forces that shape their lives. The experiment was risky. It required humans to work closely with Sirian technology, devices that could amplify brainwaves and allow a direct mental connection between human minds and the Sirians' consciousness. The risks were immense, and many feared the consequences of linking their thoughts to an alien species. Would it open doors to new knowledge, or would it expose humanity to dangers they weren't ready to face? But Valen, ever the believer in humanity's potential, convinced Earth's leaders to allow the experiment. The day arrived, and Dr. Thomas, along with several volunteers, stepped into the chamber where the Sirian devices were set up. As the chamber's doors closed, the tension in the room was palpable. Outside, millions of people were watching, unaware of the historic event unfolding inside. The moment the experiment began, the room was flooded with strange sensations. For a brief moment, it felt as though time stood still. Dr. Thomas, along with the volunteers, began to experience vivid, shared visions of ancient forests, distant planets, and civilizations that had long since disappeared. There was a sense of connectedness, as if they were tapping into something ancient, a collective consciousness that spanned across the stars. As the visions intensified, it became clear to the scientists that this was more than just a mental exercise. It was a connection to something far greater. It was a recognition of humanity's untapped potential. The human mind had the ability to influence the very fabric of reality. Through their sheer will and determination, humans could harness energy in ways that other species had never dreamed of. And then, as quickly as it had started, the visions faded. The chamber returned to its normal state, and the participants were left in stunned silence. Dr. Thomas stood up, his face pale and wide-eyed. He could hardly speak. We didn't just observe," he said. "We became part of something bigger. It's real. The power, the connection. Humanity has a force within it that can change everything." Valen's eyes glowed softly as they looked toward Earth's leaders. "This is what I saw," Valen said quietly. "This is the reason we chose you. Humanity has the ability to reshape the galaxy." The implications of the experiment were vast. Earth was no longer just a young species trying to survive in a harsh universe. They were now recognized as a force of nature, a species with the potential to change the very laws of reality. But with this newfound power came great responsibility. The galaxy was watching, and humanity's future was about to be written on a much larger stage. The galactic debate, the aftermath of the experiment, echoed across the universe. News of humanity's newfound power spread quickly, causing ripples throughout the galaxy. The Sirian, who had once viewed humanity as a curious but unrefined species, now recognized them as a force to be reckoned with. Yet, as their alliance with humanity grew stronger, so did the divisions among the galaxy's other species. The Galactic Council, which had been united in its peaceful goals for millennia, was divided. The more conservative factions feared the implications of humanity's power. If a species as unpredictable and emotional as humans could wield such energy, who could guarantee they wouldn't use it recklessly? On the other hand, there were those who saw humanity's potential as a beacon of hope, a species capable of challenging the stagnation and bureaucracy that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. The council convened for an emergency session, and the room buzzed with tension. Representatives from countless worlds, each with their own ideologies, gathered in a vast chamber. At the center was a towering hologram of Earth, now the center of a galactic debate. On one side were those who saw humanity as a threat, a wild card that could upset the balance of power. On the other side were the more open-minded factions who believed that humanity's passion and resilience could offer something the galaxy desperately needed: change. Valen, the Syrian ambassador, stood silently at the front, their shimmering form a calm contrast to the heated discussions. They had long understood that the galaxy was teetering on the edge of stagnation. The peaceful species, like the Syrian, had achieved harmony, but at the cost of progress. Innovation had slowed, and new ideas were rare. The galaxy, in many ways, had grown complacent. But humanity was different. They were still full of questions, full of curiosity, and full of a drive to overcome obstacles. Valen had seen this in every human they had met. It was this very drive that had led them to become allies with the humans. They believed humanity had the potential to break the chains of stagnation that had bound the galaxy for centuries. Yet they understood the concerns of the other species. The risks are not insignificant. Valen spoke, their voice resonating across the chamber. Humanity's power is unpredictable, yes, but it is also a reflection of their will, their drive, their courage. We can no longer pretend that the galaxy can remain static while they burn with the desire to grow. But not everyone was convinced. A representative from the Korath, a species known for their cold logic and caution, stepped forward. "This is madness," they declared, their voice sharp. "Humanity has proven nothing. They are impulsive, emotional creatures. Allowing them to tap into forces they don't understand could have disastrous consequences." Another voice joined in, this time from the Athonian delegate, a species known for their deep philosophical thinking. "But isn't that precisely what the galaxy needs?" the Athonian representative argued. "If humanity has the potential to break through barriers we have not even considered, should we not encourage them? If we suppress them now, we may find ourselves left behind." The debate raged on, with each faction presenting their arguments. Some believed humanity's power should be controlled, monitored closely to ensure it was not used recklessly. Others believed the galaxy needed to take a chance on humanity to help guide them into a new era of innovation and progress. On Earth, the tension was felt as well. Humanity's leaders were overwhelmed by the responsibility placed on their shoulders. They had always prided themselves on their independence, on their ability to forge their own path. But now, they were faced with the reality that their choices would impact not just their own world, but the entire galaxy. Dr. Aidan Thomas, the scientist who had helped lead the experiment that uncovered humanity's potential, sat in a secure room, staring at a holographic display. He replayed the moment of the experiment over and over in his mind. He could still feel the connection to something ancient, a force beyond their comprehension. But now, he was beginning to question whether humanity was truly ready for what lay ahead. Was the galaxy right to fear them? Were they ready to wield such power responsibly? Or would they be overwhelmed by it? Dr. Thomas knew that the next steps humanity took would determine their future, not just on Earth, but among the stars. Meanwhile, the Syrian watched from afar, waiting for the Council's decision. Valen was confident in humanity's ability to rise to the challenge, but they knew that the coming months would be crucial. The fate of the galaxy rested on the shoulders of the human race. As the debate in the Galactic Council continued, one thing became clear: the galaxy was changing. No longer would it be the peaceful, orderly realm that had existed for millennia. Humanity's presence had sparked something new, a force of growth and possibility. But with that came the undeniable truth. Nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The Council's decision was still weeks away, but its impact would echo through the stars for generations to come. And as humanity stood on the brink of something far greater than they had ever imagined, they realized that their journey had just begun. They were no longer just citizens of Earth. They were now part of something much larger, something that could shape the future of the galaxy itself. A test of trust. The fate of humanity and the galaxy was now in the hands of the Galactic Council. The debate was far from over, but the question remained: would the galaxy embrace humanity's potential or attempt to suppress it? For humanity, this was not just a matter of survival or dominance. It was a test of their place in the universe. Back on Earth, leaders were growing restless. Dr. Aidan Thomas, the scientist responsible for the experiment that had revealed humanity's untapped potential, had become the face of the controversy. His team had been hailed as pioneers, but now they were feared. Humanity had a power that no one had anticipated, and the Council's decision would determine how they would use it. One evening, as the stars twinkled above Earth, Dr. Thomas found himself alone in his laboratory, staring at the data from the experiment. He ran his fingers through his hair, troubled by the uncertainty. His mind kept racing back to that moment when they had first tapped into the unknown forces that seemed both ancient and primal. Had they unleashed something that they could no longer control? Dr. Thomas, a voice interrupted his thoughts. He turned to see Valen, the Syrian ambassador, standing at the door. The shimmering alien figure looked as calm as ever, but there was a sense of urgency in their voice. The Council is divided, but one thing is certain, Valen continued. They are watching Earth closely. The decision will soon be made. But it's not just about the galaxy anymore. It's about trust, whether humanity can prove it deserves that trust. Dr. Thomas nodded solemnly. We've shown them what we're capable of. But will they believe we can use it wisely? The Syrian ambassador stepped closer, their glowing presence a calming influence. The problem is not your power, Dr. Thomas. It is the fear it stirs. The galaxy has long been a place of peace, of order. What humanity represents, unpredictable, passionate, driven by emotion, is a stark contrast to what the galaxy has known for millennia. Some see that as a threat. Others see it as hope. The scientists sighed. It's not just about our power. It's about our humanity, our flaws, our ambition, our mistakes. We've had our share of wars and conflicts. How do we convince the galaxy that we've learned from our past? Valen paused for a moment, considering. Perhaps it is not about convincing them. Perhaps it is about showing them. Actions speak louder than words. Dr. Thomas, if humanity can prove that it can rise above its past mistakes, then it may yet earn its place among the stars. But as the debate continued in the Galactic Council, the situation was growing tense. Delegates from various species met in secret, forming alliances and plotting their next moves. Some factions, particularly the conservative ones, believed the galaxy had nothing to gain by taking risks on humanity. They viewed humanity's chaotic history as a sign of things to come. They feared the consequences of a species that was so driven by emotion and instinct, a species that had fought wars over petty differences, and that was still in the process of learning how to control their own impulses. Meanwhile, more progressive voices in the Council saw the potential for greatness in humanity. They saw a species that, despite its imperfections, had reached across the stars and built a coalition of allies. They saw a species that could offer innovation, creativity, and adaptability. To them, humanity represented a new frontier, one that could bring about the long-awaited changes that the galaxy needed. But for the moment, the fate of this fragile alliance rested on a single test. Valen, speaking on behalf of the Syrian, suggested that humanity be given the opportunity to prove itself in a way that would leave no room for doubt. The Council would organize a diplomatic mission, a chance for humanity to show its true nature, not just through words but through action. It would be the ultimate test of humanity's resolve and wisdom. The Syrian ambassador made the proposal clear. Humanity must demonstrate that they can balance their strength with their wisdom. If they succeed, they will be given the freedom to shape the future of the galaxy. If they fail, they'd risk isolation, fear, and mistrust. It was a simple challenge, but the implications were far-reaching. Humanity would have to prove that it could not only control the power it had unleashed, but also show that it could work in harmony with the galaxy's other species. Trust would be key, and trust was something that had to be earned, not given freely. Dr. Thomas and his team knew that this was their moment. Their actions, their choices, and their ability to cooperate with the other species would define humanity's future. Would they rise to the occasion and show the galaxy that they were more than just a species of passion and conflict? Or would they fall short, confirming the fears of those who saw them as a threat? As humanity prepared for the test that would determine its place in the universe, the tension in the galaxy continued to build. The Galactic Council was nearing its decision, and the galaxy would be watching closely. Every decision would matter, every choice, every alliance, and every action would shape the future of humanity's journey in the stars. The gathering storm. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. It wasn't just the Galactic Council that was watching. Every corner of the galaxy had turned its gaze toward Earth. The decision about humanity's future was no longer a matter of theoretical debate. It was about to become reality. What began as a simple diplomatic mission had now become a test of humanity's very soul. Dr. Aidan Thomas, once a humble scientist, now stood at the forefront of humanity's destiny. His team, the team that had first unlocked the unknown forces that had made humanity a subject of galactic fascination, was preparing for their biggest trial yet. They had been summoned to demonstrate that humanity could control the power they had unwittingly unleashed. It wasn't just their ability to create technology or weapons. It was their capacity for restraint, cooperation, and wisdom. Would humanity prove that they could be more than just a destructive force? The night before the mission, Dr. Thomas found himself reflecting on everything that had led to this point. He stood alone in his private quarters, the stars of the galaxy visible through the massive observation window. The questions swirling in his mind felt heavier than ever. Had they really changed? Could they overcome their history of violence? Was humanity truly ready to join the interstellar community? Or would their past mistakes rise up to doom them? A soft chime echoed in his room, breaking his thoughts. A message had arrived. He opened it without hesitation. The screen flickered, and a familiar voice came through. "Dr. Thomas, I trust you are prepared," Valen said, the Syrian ambassador's voice calm, but laden with an unspoken weight. "We are prepared," Dr. Thomas replied, though his voice betrayed a hint of uncertainty. "But I can't help but wonder if we're truly ready for what's ahead." Valen's image flickered slightly, and for the first time, Dr. Thomas could sense the same underlying tension in the ambassador's voice. "I understand your doubt, but you must understand this. The galaxy is not a place that tolerates weakness. You are not only fighting for your survival, Dr. Thomas. You are fighting for your future and for the future of your species." The words stung more than they comforted. Humanity had been known for centuries as a species divided, a species that had fought wars for petty reasons, often ignoring the bigger picture. Now, they were being asked to put aside all of that, to show the galaxy that they were capable of something greater. The next day, the mission began. The Galactic Council convened in their grand chamber, an imposing structure at the heart of the galaxy's political center. There, the representatives from countless species, some peaceful, some warlike, gathered. The room buzzed with conversation, each species sizing up humanity, waiting to see what they would do. Humanity's representatives, led by Dr. Thomas, stood before the council. They were a small team, only a handful of people, yet they carried the hopes and fears of an entire species. At their side was Valen, the Syrian ambassador, who had become humanity's most powerful ally in this struggle. The tension in the room was palpable. Dr. Thomas cleared his throat, his heart pounding in his chest. "Honored members of the council, we stand here not as conquerors, nor as petitioners. We stand as a species seeking to prove that we can rise above our past. We are not perfect, but we are capable of learning. We seek not dominance, but cooperation. We ask only for the opportunity to show you what we can offer, to prove that we belong among the stars. His voice was steady, though internally he was unsure whether his words would be enough. The faces around the room were unreadable. Some seemed skeptical, others intrigued, but no one seemed convinced. The council's leader, a towering figure from the warlike Kreth species, spoke next. His voice was deep and commanding. Humanity's record is filled with conflict, with violence. How do you expect us to believe that you can change? How can you convince us that you will not bring chaos to the galaxy? The words stung, but Dr. Thomas knew this was the challenge. The galaxy's fear was justified. Humanity had, at one time, been a species that fought relentlessly. Wars over borders, resources, and ideologies had plagued their history. But they had also proven capable of innovation, of compassion, and of uniting when faced with greater threats. Could they prove this to the galaxy? Dr. Thomas stepped forward. "You are right," he said, his voice unwavering. "Our history is marred by war, but we have learned. We have created peace where there was once conflict. We have made mistakes, but we are capable of growth. We are not asking you to forget our past. We are asking you to judge us by what we are today and what we are willing to become." Valen, standing beside him, added softly, "The power that humanity now possesses is not just in their ability to destroy. It is in their ability to build, to create, and to adapt. We have seen it firsthand." A murmur spread through the room. The Kreth leader's expression remained stern, but there was a flicker of thought in his eyes. He looked around at the other council members, who were silent, awaiting the next move. The silence stretched on for a long moment before the Kreth leader nodded slowly. "We will give you this chance, humanity. But understand this. If you fail, there will be no second chances. Your future will be determined by the choices you make here today." The room erupted into murmurs. For the first time, humanity had made a real impression. The challenge was set. The test of their future had begun. As Dr. Thomas stepped back, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the galaxy's eyes upon him. The mission was now more than just a test of diplomacy. It was a test of humanity's very soul. Would they rise to the occasion, or would they falter? Only time would tell. The moment of truth. The air inside the Galactic Council chamber was thick with tension. The room was silent, the weight of anticipation heavy on everyone's shoulders. For the first time in centuries, the entire galaxy was watching humanity. Dr. Aiden Thomas stood at the front, facing the council, as his heart raced. This was the moment. This was where everything would be decided. Humanity's future was now in the hands of those they hoped would accept them into the galactic fold. But this wasn't just about joining the galaxy. It was about proving that humanity could evolve, that they could work together for something greater than themselves. The Kreth leader's stern gaze was still fixed on Dr. Thomas. "You have asked for a chance," he said, his deep voice cutting through the silence. "Now you must show us that humanity is worthy of it. We will test your claims, your intentions, and your resolve. Do not fail." Dr. Thomas nodded, his expression determined. There was no going back. The fate of humanity was tied to this test, and he wasn't going to let his species fail now. He turned to face the representatives of the other species, some wary, some skeptical, but all waiting to see what humanity would do next. The silence in the room deepened as a group of armed soldiers entered, their armor gleaming under the lights. They carried an artifact, something unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It was a device, ancient and strange, radiating a soft blue glow. The moment it touched the ground, the room seemed to hum with energy. "This," the Kreth leader said, "is the test. Humanity's ability to understand and control the unknown. This artifact is a relic from a species lost to time. No one has been able to unlock its secrets, and those who have tried have only caused chaos. Dr. Thomas stared at the device. It was like nothing he had ever seen, and his mind raced. This was the ultimate challenge. If humanity could not understand it, if they failed to control it, they would prove that they were no different from the warlike species of the past. But if they succeeded, they would show the galaxy that humanity was ready for more than just survival. They were ready to be leaders. "I need 5 minutes," Dr. Thomas said, turning to the council. His voice was calm, but his mind was already working through the possibilities. He couldn't afford to waste any time. Valen, standing at his side, spoke up. "Give them the time they need. Humanity has come far. We must trust them now." The council hesitated but eventually nodded. The room fell into an eerie silence as Dr. Thomas and his team approached the strange artifact. It pulsed softly, its energy reverberating through the air, making the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He took a deep breath and began. His team had already begun to analyze the device. They used all the knowledge and tools at their disposal. The artifact wasn't just a piece of alien technology. It was a living thing. Every move they made, every adjustment, seemed to send ripples through the device, making it more and more unpredictable. Minutes passed, and the tension in the room only grew. The Kreth leader watched them closely, his expression unreadable. Dr. Thomas could feel the eyes of the galaxy on him. This was more than just a scientific challenge. It was a test of trust, of their worthiness. The device began to hum louder, and Dr. Thomas could see the energy patterns shifting. He had seen something like this once before, in his research, in a memory long buried. He quickly pulled up the data on his screen and made a bold guess. He reconfigured the device's core settings, trusting his instincts. For a brief moment, everything went still. The room seemed to hold its breath. And then, a bright flash of light exploded from the artifact, flooding the room with energy. The holograms flickered and short-circuited, and even the Kreth soldiers flinched, stepping back in alarm. But Dr. Thomas held his ground, his hand steady on the controls. The light faded, and there, in the center of the room, the artifact had changed. It had opened up, revealing a map, an ancient star chart, one that traced the origins of the galaxy, and more importantly, it seemed to hold the key to understanding the hidden paths between stars. The room was silent for a long moment, as the implications of what had just happened sank in. The Kreth leader stepped forward, his face pale. You did it. You unlocked it." Dr. Thomas turned, his heart pounding in his chest. "Humanity isn't just about destruction," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. "We are capable of understanding, of creating, and of protecting. This artifact is proof that we can be more than what our past might suggest." The Kreth leader nodded slowly, his voice grave, but filled with respect. "You have proven your worth, humanity. The galaxy will be watching, but we are no longer mere observers. We are allies. You have shown us what we are all capable of when we put aside our differences." The room erupted in a mix of cheers and murmurs. The other species in the room seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. Humanity had done it. They had passed the test. But as Dr. Thomas looked around, he knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and there would be more challenges ahead. They had earned a place in this new world, but they would have to continue proving that they deserved it. The unlikely alliance had begun.